Yeah, bro, we're trying to record. Yo.
It's recording.
Like, we're recording.
Hey everybody, welcome to Cartoons, Comics, and Gold Peaks. I had to read it. And damn, nobody told me we were recording. I just sat down.
Whenever you're ready.
Alright, we're going? Hey, what's going on? This is Cartoons, Comics, and Cold Pizza, maybe? Yeah, I think so. My name is Proven Combo Supreme. To my left.
Digital Joey.
And over here to my right.
It's your boy E. Craze,
Yes,
and
sir.
here we discuss the cartoons we grew up with, the comics they came from, and have turned into. And this week, Joey, what are we talking about?
Talking about Transformers War For Cybertron. It's a trilogy of shows. This is Chapter 1, Siege. So, I guess first off, did y'all like it?
No.
Yeah,
Not
me
at all.
neither. At least we all feel that way, I guess.
It was horrible. The only thing that I did like about it is that it looked like the way I
Yeah, the
remember
art
Transformers, right?
Yeah.
Their designs,
Yeah.
but I didn't really like
Really
the
don't
style
think it
of
kept me
it.
watching it.
No.
So, the dialogue is really, it's hard. It's hard to, the pausing when everybody talks. So just, the steps, it's just so hard to keep going. That was a big thing for me.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with the dialogue too. A lot of it felt. I mean, I know it's from an '80s, children's
Right.
show, but like when you're doing it as like this is a reimagining of more adult or not adult, but
Well, that's who was gonna
more
watch
like
it.
sophisticated, I guess,
Yeah,
version.
definitely. That's
You're-
it's a
I'm-
nostalgia.
I'm at least expecting some sort of better dialogue than the '80s show.
Definitely.
They made it more serious than the
Yeah.
Generation 1 cartoon, right? Like they
Yeah.
took a lot of the jokes out, the campiness, I
Yeah,
guess.
And I think
But
if
they didn't.
I think
they
that-
didn't punch up the dialogue to go along.
because
with
I think
that.
if you're gonna go with the same amount of dialogue, same level, you're gonna need the campiness to work with it. You can't
It
have.
could have used that. It could have
Yeah.
used some little humor. It
think I
needed
would've
it
liked
needed some lighter moments. Like the jokes in it were weak. It was really weak. Like what the scrap just
Oh
kept
no!
getting
Yeah.
Like
on
suck my
nerves.
tailpipe, bro.
Polish
The
my
beginning-
tailpipe.
Yeah,
bro,
like, is that a
bro,
sexual
that's like the
reference?
first thing you hear.
Yeah.
That's the first thing you
And if
hear.
it
Like
is
it
a
really
sexual
sticks out when
reference,
you're
is
watching
it
everything.
the front or the back? Because the tailpipe is in the back.
Usually. In the back.
So did he just say like, "Well, suck my ass" to Bumblebee? And what the fuck is a Bumblebee on Cybertron? They're a bunch of robots, bro.
The references to, okay, my thing is, I don't know all these made up words, right?
It's very
And
word
so,
soup.
The what is it? Eon. What is it?
Energon?
Not the Energon, but the timing.
Oh no, they changed
yeah.
it 3 times,
Yeah.
bro. At one point it was in an auto cycle, in an astro cycle, astro second, and then a nanocycle.
Yeah.
What,
And then
what are
there's
these
like-
all
What does
different
that
types of
mean?
seconds?
Yeah, like-
is it minutes, hours, times, months?
Which one is which? Because,
time
I mean-
frame, years, ages.
Astro second makes it sound like it's less than a second, like a
Yeah.
minute,
Like that's
millisecond or something.
that's one of my big problems usually with fantasy stuff, and I think that's why I don't really like fantasy a lot. Is
Hey, whoa.
I like your book, but you know what I mean. Like in general fantasy, a lot of times they do the whole like, here's a bunch of words, we're gonna give you no context, and you're gonna
Yeah.
learn later on.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a huge fan of that, and that's why I like sci-fi more, is because usually they describe what it is. But with this series, they kind of just threw all this stuff at you, and I didn't grow up watching the original series, so I don't know if that helped, but to me, I was like, I don't know what half this stuff is,
No, that was the biggest part for me. That was the biggest part, is just like, we don't know we like coming in as like I have never seen a Transformer in my life.
Yeah.
You don't know anything. Like you don't need to be handheld. But
Yeah.
There's a way better way
Yeah.
to like
Even
put this information in there so that everybody's included.
in my notes, I said this show doesn't feel like it feels like a show for like fans only. It doesn't feel like a newcomer show.
It was definitely like exclusive.
Yeah,
It was
like
exclusive to somebody that's like just dedicated everything they've had.
Like coming into it, I was like, I mean, growing up, I watched the Michael Bay Transformers movies. That was the first thing I ever saw of Transformers was that. So it's like even that having that sort of knowledge,
I was
a
bad experience.
It's
a bad way
yeah,
to get into
it was
bad, but hell, you learn more from that than you did this. Like
See,
you kind of caught on. I mean,
and when I was little,
because those movies are garbage.
When I was little, I loved those movies, right? But now it's like going back on them, I'm like, oof, that's that's a rough way to start. But it's like, I still feel like I enjoyed those more than this because I felt like I could get introduced to things. In this, it was very much just like. And we only watched the first 3 episodes for this, so it's like probably later on it
explains something.
But hopefully, I mean I don't know. These first 3 episodes were pretty rough. I did actually like the 3rd episode more than the first 2. Yes. I thought the 3rd episode kind of helped the story along.
Yeah.
And it added some cool characters because I think Ratchet is like the one thing that saved the series so far for me. He was a really cool character.
Yeah. The first 2, like the first episode, the ending was like stupid and like obvious.
Yeah.
Like we all like nobody wears hoods. This whole
very much.
Nobody wears
them big ass shoulders, bro, looking like a.
Why would you want to come looking like you're trying to like, cover yourself up?
When you're a robot. Yeah, like.
Well, I don't recognize this color scheme.
Yeah.
On this giant ass robot that how are you being in disguise right now?
Yeah.
Like you're a giant ass robot. What the fuck are you wearing this cloak for to try to disguise your identity?
Yeah.
Bro, we heard you clanking up the whole way up the road.
For real.
And you're trying to be secretive right now.
It's like. And the thing is like, I think the plot...
He throws it back.
Of the yeah, everyone's like, what?
Whoa!
Shit! I think the plot of the series could be good, the idea of like...
Yeah.
I like that it did try and take it to a more adult place with the storyline. It wasn't... It kind of made it like, neither side was really right. You kind of got to see both sides.
Same shit.
And like, the idea that like Autobots before all this were kind of in the wrong, treating Decepticons just as like workers and like and like in the mines and stuff.
Right.
But I wish they would do more with that. It feels like they do it the bare minimum of it, and then they're like, and now here's semi-decent action scenes.
Yeah. Like nostalgia.
Here. And I'm like, if you're gonna go this route, you need to like go hard in that like divide of them and kind of deal with like how that affects more things. And I also felt like they were kind of trying to go like with a war vibe for it, but then never fully committed to that either. I think they did a lot of cool things, but just never committed.
They made Megatron to like this Hitler thing. Like I was getting a lot of that vibe, like World War II thing. Like,
same.
When it was only whenever he would talk to his people, like to like. What is it, like propaganda? Like,
I wrote down the same thing. I said the propaganda thing was cool.
It was really heavy on that, but you never get like why he's like that. Like I would rather I would rather see him come in and say, like man, they like have you see where he's coming from.
For sure.
Instead of just popping up at the very, very beginning saying, all right, like you're gonna follow what I want. You're not doing what I say, how I want it. Like execute. Walks off. Like,
exactly. Like
it's too.
I think my biggest problem with at least these first 3 episodes is that like nothing's explained. Like the conflict isn't explained beyond like it's Autobots versus Decepticons, and there's a little bit of like it's the like almost a racial divide or something, But there's no like background to the characters' motivations.
Right. Yeah, and then this is supposed to be like the beginning, like a prequel.
Yeah,
this isn't. This isn't like we're thrown into something that's going. This is supposed to explain what's going on, right? And then like you're not clueless, right? But you have to piece it together in this just really, just
crazy,
weird way. Like it's not
convoluted way.
Unnecessary. It could be easy. Yeah. It could be said easier, better. Like
and like
the writing. You know,
I think I wrote
the girl. I hate the Alita. Right? I just looked it up. Alita.
Wow.
I don't like her. Like every time she spoke, maybe the voice actress. I don't like her. Optimus.
I think
every time she was very insubordinate, bro. Like immediately, the first thing she did was
what are you doing, Optimus?
Go against Optimus.
Optimus, I don't want it.
I wrote I said, are Alita and Optimus a thing? Like, are they trying to give it a romance thing? I'm like, is that?
Why do they need it?
It's been a long time since I've seen Generation 1.
But they were actually a thing.
They shouldn't need it. They shouldn't need it. They're robots. They're not.
Yeah, I was like, I wrote in my notes. I was like, are robots asexual with like 4 question marks? I was like, I don't know how that works.
To suck his tailpipe.
I mean, there's references.
True. There is. It's weird, you know. I just the tone of it was very odd.
There's a bunch of things that how do I say like the insubordinate. Yeah, I really didn't like how every time he would say, "We're gonna do this," you know, and she's just Optimus. No. You know, like she's the first one to jump up and be like, "No, let's not," and then somebody, what's his name, goes cross his sides.
Oh,
because of this reason, and it's
Ultra Magnus.
And then
isn't that his name, right?
Yeah, Ultra Magnus. Yeah.
And the thing that I bringing up Ultra Magnus, my favorite scene in these 3 episodes is him and Megatron when they're at that table having negotiations. I thought that was really well written, and the dialogue was good, and it actually added some background to Magnus, Optimus, and Megatron being like brothers, you know.
Right, that they knew each other and whatnot.
But then it's like they do this whole cool thing, right? And then never expand on it. No. I think Megatron and Optimus say one thing to each other about it, but I was like, I want to see more of that.
Those little moments are too far in between. Because by the time, because part 3 is where it kicks up. Right?
Yeah, part 3 is
it should have kicked up good. Like halfway into part 1.
See, and that's my biggest thing. When I was watching the first episode, because I've seen the series before when it came out, you know, and I didn't remember episode 1. The first half of that episode is one scene.
Yeah,
it's the opening scene.
Yeah, them
12 minutes of that episode is that.
That's a long time of just that. And you don't get anything.
And that's why I wrote. I was like, the pacing of the show is so weird.
All you got was a bunch of character introductions that shouldn't have happened that way. Either.
And half of them weren't good. Megatron was not a good introduction. He did not.
Optimus Prime. Because at first I'm like, why is this the way you're getting to watch Megatron for the first fucking time? Like you're
going in together.
What would have been cool is
you're going in together, right, to find this Energon. And all of a sudden, Optimus Prime comes out at the very end when he should have came in. If he was going to do that, if he was going to be there watching, why didn't he come in earlier?
He should have been on the damn mission.
What would have been really cool was like, so you have the intro, right? And then Megatron doesn't show up. They capture one of them and take him to there. And then Megatron's introduction should just be killing an Autobot. Like, just straight up, like, at his throne, should have brought him to him and then had that whole discussion to one of them, and that would have been way more imposing, and then he just kills him.
More,
and then you know how much of a serious villain he is. Now I'm like...
he's just annoying.
He did that evil bad guy trope where he just kill him and walks away.
Yeah.
Which to get them free.
Fine, but also, he doesn't leave. You know, when you think it, like, it's stupid, right? He walks off, and then literally Optimus Prime drives up and he goes, and like just turns around and walks back in, and I was like, what are you doing? Like,
man, that was...
the directing of it is weird. It's such a weirdly written show, and...
the art style is really
it's cool, but even cool. I wasn't a huge fan of the animation.
No, the animation of it was not good. The only thing I liked was that they looked the way they looked back in the day. That's it. Yeah. And the fact that they actually had like battle scars all over.
That was cool. Really I made a note of that. That I was like, I don't like that. I like that everything's not pristine. You know, it feels very much like this is a war torn.
And they were dirty as hell too.
Yeah, and even the backgrounds for how like empty they are. There's still a lot of like desolation.
Who's in those buildings, bro? Other than Transformers and Autobots, like Is there a fucking like Lamborghini looking ass Autobot that goes in there with a Bluetooth and transforms and like, yeah man, I'm trading Energon today. Yeah, it went up. Yeah, well the war is going on is fantastic for business.
Also, what
the hell?
My question is it's so Bumblebee, right? We haven't even brought up Bumblebee in this, but is he the only What's the idea of like, oh, there's Autobots and there's Skepticons, yes, but who is there other people that aren't that?
Right, because there's buildings and where are they? Right, and there's highways.
So there's what, like 10 Autobots left is what they had in that group.
So whenever
so who's everybody else? I don't like
when Megatron's announced to talk to his people. Like, are these just soldiers? They're not like civilians. They're not
but I think they're supposed to be civilians because he's broadcasting when Ratchet's picking up.
And is that where they're at? Are they like at the settlement? Is he right now like in control of a civilization?
Right. It's just not explained
because Autobots are hiding.
Because once again, that would have been a dope thing to explore. Is the idea of like, is he being like a fascist dictator or like what's happening?
You're showing yourself as a fascist dictator, but
so show that.
Are they just you? And then it's too. How do I say? Like, it's too little information. Like, is that a camp? Are there other camps?
Exactly.
Are there,
other cities
for sure.
Fortresses.
What is it whenever they go?
Yeah, how big is Cybertron? Because it doesn't seem very big to me. Like I don't get any sense of scale.
No.
Is Cybertron one little area? Like, I don't.
There's not. The buildings don't even look to damn scale. I hate that too.
I did have a huge problem with
the scale. There's smaller
robot.
Transformers like Bumblebee is small, right? And Wheeljack is
but buildings themselves are weirdly scaled.
Yes, they are.
Like Optimus next to a building that the window is just like this big. And
but then their spaceship they stay in is 100 freaking feet tall and like.
Right. And like this building you can't just see like the one, like wall hanging off of a building and it just looks like a regular, like normal human Earth building. Mm-hmm. You can't. They have to be like.
Well, there's astrometers, right? And then
but what does that mean? I'm like. I get it. Like, it's cool. Like, I'm sure you're not gonna say minutes and seconds. That's cool that they tried to be like. But then you do that, and then there's still a character named Bumblebee.
Right. Much.
They don't know what that is.
They don't
and what exactly is a Wheeljack?
Sure.
Because
Jetfire. Well, Jetfire you can understand it, but still. Like,
when Ratchet is, patching up people, they're on beds. They don't need a Wheeljack.
Yeah.
They don't need that. So where did you get that name from?
Also,
it is a Wheeljack on Cybertron.
They can hack each other's brains, apparently, right? Obviously, so this is the whole mission, right? This is pretty much the whole mission. You can't get like any like malware, like protection.
Yeah, because the whole idea of this series is that they're gonna get the Allspark.
Yeah, like
and then reprogram
everybody to a Decepticon.
Which is cool. I do like the concept, but I hate the concept of the Allspark in everything. It's a MacGuffin. It's just there to drive the plot.
Only thing that does anything for anything else. Like, ever. There's never
in any Transformers thing. It's always the Allspark, and it's never anything definite. It's always the Allspark. Yeah. It does whatever you need it to do. It's a MacGuffin. It's just to drive the plot forward.
It's the worst MacGuffin because it doesn't. Then you get it, and they don't do nothing with it. Right?
And the thing is like
do nothing with it.
Yeah, and it's like
they want to just keep it and just use it for energy. Right? Like, it's all.
Well, the Autobots do. The Decepticons want to use it to reprogram, but they're using it for energy to reprogram, and I'm like, I've never liked the idea of that.
Energy to destroy. Why does this one thing is like a Swiss Army knife?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's the do all, fix all, end all, be all. It's 2-1.
Because it's the greatest artifact that Cybertron has, Doug.
Yeah, exactly. and I think
what? That sounds like some fucking Decepticon bullshit, and I don't appreciate you trying to force your ideology on us.
That's right. No, I don't. It's just.
But Megatron's a great leader.
What do you call a Bumblebee? He's not either or. Do they have names?
Exactly. Like he's a scrapper for Energon. But what does that mean?
So like, he gets hired by who, right? Like, so he's obviously
whoever.
Yeah. Who are these other?
Yeah.
Right. Because the only one that.
Like, at least mention like like my sisters, my family's here in the same camp, and I don't need to be an Autobot. I don't want to be here. something. Give some type of backstory.
Exactly. It all
where
feels.
You from? Who else is there? Like
everything's very surface level.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. The whole show just feels like there's so much lore you could explore.
Shallow.
And if you're gonna do a series like this, go hard in the lore. You know.
Fucking make up all these big ass names, these big old vocabulary.
Yeah, and the thing that's almost worse is I feel like they tried.
No, they did.
I feel bad because I don't want to just trash on this thing because it's all made by people who clearly care and want to make something good, but it just didn't do what I think they wanted it to, you know. And maybe that's Netflix. I don't know. Maybe that's the budget constraints. I feel like
they were trying to go for nostalgia, and at the same time, they knew that the people watching it for that were going to bring their kids and be like, oh, look, I used to watch this.
Because so even as a kid,
hit both
marks. I agree.
As a kid watching this,
they ended up hitting neither.
There's nothing even to keep me going as a kid. Like I played in front of my kid, he didn't watch it.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, it's not really anything that's. I don't know. I don't know who this demographic is. Like I don't know who it's towards because I'm sure it's towards fans, right? Is what their goal was. But is it?
Those fans were the same ones that were very upset.
Because I looked this up. On Rotten Tomatoes, the critic thing. Yeah. It has 100% on there.
Yeah, I saw that too. I don't know how.
All the critics love it, and I normally agree with critics. You know, I like most of the things they like. I don't understand what. It's mostly nostalgic. I think is all it is, bro. And that's why Stranger Things is like that. You know. Like, that's why Stranger Things is that, and that's why, like, all those shows that, like, bank on 80s nostalgia.
So?
Alright. So, I mean, with it having 100%, is there anything that y'all have for positives for it, you know?
I like that it showed a lot of Transformers.
There was Transformers
There was quite a bit of them that when I was, watching some Generation 1 at the same time, like, oh, I remember that one. I thought it was really good. I mean, it brought the nostalgia out. You know.
See, and
I get everything you just said.
Yeah, and see, I didn't feel that because, I mean, that's not what I grew up with. So there's no nostalgia there for me, you know. But I think my positive was I think a lot of specific scenes were really well written. Like I said, the interrogation scene between Ultra Magnus and Megatron. Yeah. I think Ratchet talking to them at the medical bay about kind of being like, why are neither of y'all are right. I think that was cool, and I really liked Ratchet as a character. I thought he was the most well developed, and I really liked
all of them pretty much, right?
Yeah, out of even more than Optimus Prime or anything. And then I really liked.
I didn't care about him.
I really liked Impactor and the one that the Decepticon that.
I did like that as well.
Ends up kind of helping them. I think that was cool. You know, I thought that was a cool difference.
I feel the same way about those 4 or 5 moments that we're talking about because that's really all it was. And outside of those, it's not like the small parts where you got plot point and they kind of expanded a little bit on the world. It was just not enough. I don't think it was enough.
No, not enough.
I agree.
And nobody stood out for me. Nobody really stood out for me. None of the characters. I'm trying to think of somebody. I mean, yeah, they really didn't stick out. I just can think of how annoyed I was by somebody. The voice acting too was a big deal for me. That was hard. There's some of these people that I don't know, be a Transformer. I don't know. They just sound like they were talking. The Alita, that's my biggest one. She was just so. Every time she's had something to say, I just tuned out. I just. Whatever, it's gonna be dumb. I don't care. Whatever she says, you need a female perspective and like a male.
Yeah.
A male really wrote this female perspective.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
Good. All right, well, I think that's probably all we gotta say about that, right?
Yeah.
For now, I mean, we're eventually gonna do the other 3 episodes, so we'll see if that makes it better.
Our feelings might stay the same.
We'll see. And the other thing we want to talk about is a comic book that's been coming out. We're gonna talk about the first 2 issues it's a 4-issue miniseries. Transformers 84: Secrets and Lies.
2020 got you stuck at home? Travel through the multiverse at the Hive Comics and Games, your one-stop shop for all the things nerdy. Located at 3615 North Dixie, the Hive is the place to find everything you need to feed your imagination, from comics like Batman and Spider-Man to tabletop RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons. The Hive has what you're looking for. Buzz on by with the whole family.
I very much enjoyed these 2 issues.
Same. I
think that using Counterpunch as the narrator, as the voice for it, was a very good choice. I think that his narration leading into the actual story that's being told was done very well. And the pacing.
It sounds cheesy, but it's better than the.
And it's very much better than the cartoon.
And I think I agree. I really liked this comic better than the series. I think one thing it really does well is it's almost the same story, right?
Yeah.
But one's told in a better perspective, and it's because you don't focus on Optimus Prime in this book. You're not focusing on Bumblebee for the billionth time. You're not focusing on Starscream. You're focusing on, what was his name? I didn't even what was his name?
Shockwave?
No. The guy that Counterpunch. Right? I don't even know who that is, but and Shockwave, who I think is dope. It's like you're doing lesser known characters. You're actually giving them character development in it.
Yeah.
Giving a cool scenario, and it's. And I think it takes a lot of what the show tried to do and does it correctly.
Yeah. It like not focusing on Optimus and Bumblebee, like you said, really brings the world out. Because you're like, I feel like the show is just throwing you names. Mm-hmm. It's just showing you like, you remember this name, you remember that name, here's another name. But the book, it's like, this is what's really going down. These are the characters actually involved. Like that was a big difference from the book to
I agree. And it's a lot more well written. I think the dialogue's a lot better. It's a lot more fun to read actually than it is to watch the show, and the art's really good.
Yeah, the art is very great. I like the way they colored it to give it that more nostalgia feel.
It gives it the '80s vibe, but still looks really nice as a comic book.
Yes.
If I would have seen that as a show, I don't know if I would have loved it as much. But as a comic, I love the coloring on it.
Well, in the '80s, you would have loved the way they looked.
That's true.
Because that's the way robots.
I was negative 19, so I can't really give the opinions there. But yeah.
80s robots.
80s robots.
Sure, and
just like that.
Yeah, and I think the designs are dope. You know, they're very 80s, and that's what it's meant to be. It works, and I think, but I can't get over how good the story is. You know, it really kept me interested for the 2 issues, and I think the idea of Shockwave kind of going against even Megatron and being like, I'm in the right, I want to lead now, is a really cool aspect, because in everything else I've ever seen, Shockwave has just kind of been like
a background character.
And kind of just being
scientist.
Like, yeah.
That's all he ever really was a scientist.
And I like that they're
a new weapon and needed a new something.
I like they're using his smarts to be like, no, maybe I should run things, and I'm gonna take over this planet how I feel fit. Also, a
better story.
Sad day for the Dinobots in this book.
Dinobots with an Y or Dinobots with an I?
With the Y, because then they come back with the I.
Yeah.
Which I actually like that they do address, like, that they weren't always dinosaurs.
Right.
They were dino as in Y, and then when they come back to life, they have scans of dinosaurs, which I still don't know how they got the scans, but...
Right.
You know.
That's cool. I accepted it.
Yeah, because at least there was a reason to why they're just dinosaurs.
But then that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Like, what is a dino on Cybertron?
I still don't know. You know, it's just.
Yeah, that's. It always got to me, man. Always got to me. The Insecticons from Generation 1.
Yeah.
What the fuck was a beetle really on Cybertron?
For Beetle. Transformer. Yeah.
No. But no, this was it's very well written. The art, like you said.
Let me look up the writer and the artist so we can shout them out.
Great.
That way we're not just saying, you know.
And I'm more excited to get to the next issue with the comic book than I was
the show.
Like I really want to read. I want to really see what's next. What are they about to do? And I also think that keeping it overall at 4 issues.
It's nice and contained.
Yeah.
All right.
So you get the nostalgia factor, and you bring in new fans for just a good story.
All right. The writer is Simon Furman. Apparently, he's written a lot of Transformers stuff over the years.
He knows the lore.
Yeah, and the art is, I hope I'm saying this right, Guidi is the art, and I really enjoy that. You know, I think it worked pretty well for the story. If I did have to give one complaint, I think the narrator is a little underdeveloped as a character, at least in the first 2 issues. I feel like he's kind of just the narrator, you know. I wish I got a little more out of his character, but I think they're doing a lot with Shockwave and not...
Yeah, but I'm enjoying him just kind of being the one that's just kind of driving the story.
Right, I agree, yeah, I don't know, I like... If I'm going to have a narrator... Yeah, I just want to know more about his character, because it's like, he's under enemy lines in this, so that's... Right. They kind of touch on that at the beginning, he's like, I've done things, you know, and it's like... But I wish they would have kind of elaborated on that a little more. Maybe they will in the other 2 issues, I don't know, but just the first 2, I just wish I had a little more of him, you know? Right.
Blood of Gods is an ongoing action fantasy comic series taking place throughout the wondrous Dusala. Anthelos is a divine breed with an extraordinary gift and an affinity for helping those in need. When the possibility of dragon attacks is as likely as the gods interfering in one's life, those are 2 characteristics perfect for heroism. As he saves his village, Stonewall, from being razed to the ground by dragonfire, his children are kidnapped and his wife is left cursed. Will his ability to survive allow him to endure having his family be broken apart? Find out in Blood of Gods.
All right, this has been the first episode of Cartoons, Comics, and Cold Pizza. Thanks for watching. We've given our thoughts on this, and let us know how you feel about the show, about the books, and everything down below. Just follow me on all socials, DigitalJoey99, and...
I'm Combo Supreme on Instagram.
And I'm at Eric D. Wrights on Instagram, and at Blood of Gods Comic, because I also write a comic book, Blood of Gods, medieval fantasy. Visit bloodofgods.com and learn a lot more about that.
All right, next week we're going to have a No Good Underground podcast. It's going to be a little different vibe, more of a hangout, a couple of different people, just have a good conversation about whatever's on our minds, topics, current events. Stay tuned for that. Please subscribe.